Welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Bud Elliott. That's Danny Cannell. That's Tom Fornelli. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and all across the 24/7 Sports Facebook network. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like. We appreciate all the subscribers that have been able to carry us past some of our goals. That means we just keep setting new goals, goalposts moving for us always in the best way. This is the best time of the week, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday, as we get a chance to sit down and share and compete with our weekly locks. So before we get into week 7, we take a quick look back at week 6, beginning with Tom Fornelli, who, we got a slight debate on, not debate, but 6-5. Tom getting back on the winning side of things, nearly the winner for the week. Let's look what we saw. Lock war win. Tom and Danny do cash it. We addressed it. It's just the beginning, right? That's what they say. You can win the war, but you win the war or something like that. Florida State is a winner. Houston plus 2.5 is a winner. Arkansas, Mississippi State under 59.5 is a winner. Louisville minus 2.5 is a winner. The Illinois, Iowa under 36.5 was cozy and never in daggum doubt. And the Air Force, Utah State over 54.5 is a winner. Took a lock fight loss on Utah minus 3.5, a loss on Virginia Tech Pitt under 41.5. I feel you there. Maryland minus 3 is a loss, and yet Maryland fans are still angry at us, even though you were supporting them going into the weekend. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech under 69.5 is a loss, and UTEP plus 3 is a loss. 6-5 for the week. That gets you to 25-30 for the season. Thoughts on a loaded slate for you? Heaviest card we had.
Well, I think that the lesson I learned is that forgetfulness is sometimes good for you, because I forgot a lock last week on my card. I never put it in and it lost. So that's the only thing that kept me from having a losing week overall. So shout out to Army and for me forgetting you. And also thank God, because my Army evaluation is very different after what I saw last week. But nothing last week that I feel terrible about. Like the Virginia Tech Pitt under, like when games like that happen, when the total's at 41.5 and it ends up being 70 points, that's just, nobody saw that coming. So you can't really feel bad about being wrong on that one. Maryland annoyed me more than anything. I still think the play was right. They just, they whatever. Purdue is just the weirdest freaking team. Like
they drag you in. They drag you into the muck.
All my numbers are like, Purdue's not that good. Purdue's not that good. Purdue's not that good, but it keeps winning anyway. And there always seems to be at least one or two of those teams every single season. But yeah, other than that, I thought it was just a pretty solid week.
Not a solid week for your boy. 2-5. The lone wins. Hey, Tulane minus 3, taking care of it, or Tulane, depending on where you're from. And the under 66, North Carolina, Miami was maybe sweating overtime, as maybe sending that one a little bit sideways. But the Tar Heels, this is a stunning statement based on the way the season has gone. The Tar Heels defense came through. So that one ends up going under.
Kind of.
I mean, they gave up 490 yards and only 24 points, right? There's
the only stat that matters.
Especially when we're talking about these totals, baby. Over 69 in Kansas TCU is a push. Took a loss on the Auburn team total under 9.5. Georgia is not elite. You do not let Auburn score a touchdown, much less a passing touchdown at the end of that game. Duke minus 3.5 is a loss. Injuries piling up for the Blue Devils. We mentioned NC State and Oregon State first half minus 4, a loss as well. Virginia Tech team total under 13.5, a loss as well. My lessons. Those are some mean picks. Auburn team total under, Virginia Tech team total under, and you can't get a good feel of the vibes with that much hate in your heart. So we're going for a cleanse. That's my week 7. My week 7 is a cleansing. No more mean picks. That's just not going to put me in a good place. But I remain the leader on the season, 29-22, up 4.8 units, even after the 2-5 week. Danny, the winner of the week, 5-4, up 0.6 units. Your wins were Tennessee minus 2.5, never a doubt there. You get the lock war win with FSU plus 3.5. Oklahoma State minus 9 gets it done for you as well. Mizzou plus 11.5 and Mississippi State minus 9.5. The losses, the under 44.5 in Wisconsin Northwestern, Michigan minus 22.5 against Indiana, then Auburn team total under 9.5. You were with me as well. And then Alabama minus 23.5. Danny, your thoughts on the card?
Garbage time touchdowns are a killer. They're so tough. The Auburn one you mentioned, Northwestern, Wisconsin, same thing. You're running up the score, new coach trying to make a statement. Didn't see that coming. Was totally wrong on Alabama. That's just a miss. That's a bad one. And then we always talk about player injuries. I need to start checking coaches' health reports because that Mike Hart, which thankfully he's going to be okay. We can laugh about this now, but that clearly impacted Michigan's game. Struggling 10-10 at halftime. You're like, what is happening? Then you see the players crying. One of their, that's one of their mentors. It's a lot of these guys are, it's like a family type relationship. When he went down, it clearly rattled them. They were able to bounce back and still almost got the cover, but that was a tough one there. So let's start paying attention to coaches' health reports, not only the players.
Bud 4-6. Oh yeah, that's 28-29 on the season after the 5-4 week. Bud, it was a 4-6 week for you. You get a lock fight win with UCLA plus 3.5. Also cash that LSU team total under 31.5. Never a doubt there. BYU team total under 23.5 is also a win, and the Missouri-Florida under 55.5 is a win. The losses, you were with me, fighting in the trenches with NC State minus 3. We lost on Alabama minus 23.5. Also lost on Michigan first half minus 13. App State first half minus 10.5. Cincinnati first half minus 16.5. First half plays, look ahead spots didn't come through for you, but still 4-6 on the week, 41-35, making money for the season, up 2.5 units. Thoughts on week 6?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the wins were rather easy and the losses were frustrating. I mean, I don't know if I can blame the Michigan thing on Mike Hart, but Michigan just played really sloppily in that first half. They had a ton of personal fouls and just dumbass penalties. Cincinnati came out super flat and just screwed around. And I'm going to have to rethink Cincinnati. I used to think they should be the odds-on favorite for the American, and now I'm not so sure. And App State off a bye, losing outright by multiple scores to Texas State. I did not see that coming, and I'm not really sure anybody else did either. So I just bad pick by me there for sure. The one I think I should have won is NC State, right? I mean, they gained like 0 yards in the second half with that backup quarterback and still won the game by 2. I think they physically whipped FSU's line for most of the game, and I'd bet that again in the heartbeat at 3.
You brought a run game to a lock war. Good luck.
Jack Chambers, attorney at law, will get you the win in the courtroom, but he cannot necessarily get you the cover as he comes in. At least not last week. Maybe more on that. All right.
Do we need to start like figuring out a way to bet our money line picks as our regular picks?
Right.
We're destroying it on money lines, and we're not profitable on these ATS, which last year, I went back and looked, like we barely made a profit on sprinkles and we crushed the side. So it's just, I don't know. I don't know if you guys have a process for like how you pick it, but it's like, try to throw the higher variance ones into the money line,
Well, we call them sprinkles. So I fundamentally disagree with the way we keep track of it, but I'm cool, because it's like one unit should not be worth the same as the unit that you make on your plays. Right?
I mean,
I bet these the same amount.
Yes, so do I.
Like I put my sprinkles in because I think they may have some higher variance. Like sometimes I'm betting against a team that I really don't trust. Like, yeah, the line maybe should be this, but also like they have real collapse potential.
Well, then I'll let the listeners and the viewers let you know that when I fire on Arizona plus 410, I do not actually think that is going to happen. I just think it would be hilarious, and I would like to go to the pay window with a chuckle. Okay, that is part of the mentality. Feel free to fade as much as you want. Danny crushing it on the money line sprinkles. You can reveal your process or not. It's just
for me, I don't want to talk about them twice. Like I feel like let's save those for the money line sprinkles. I've been very seriously considering doubling down and just taking them in both. But I feel like you kind of give away some of your leans. We don't have time to talk about so many games, so I just kind of save the money line sprinkles. Or if I'm on the other side of one of you guys, like as opposed to a fight, I'm like, let me just see. I'll just go ahead and take the higher payout with the money line.
Inside the process of the Cover 3 podcast. And we are flushing week 6. We are looking ahead to week 7. Gentlemen, y'all ready to lock it up?
Let's go.
Since 2005, the under in games between service academies is 40-9-1. We're making
Give me an over in this one as well. A little 2-for-1 special.
Get these locks.
I was a sicko last week. Y'all were watching good games. I was live betting the hell out of UL in Kentucky.
My blue plate special 5-star locks are coming.
5-star master lock. Lock it up.
Love these locks. I'm living and dying every point, every coverage.
We begin with some Thursday night games. Big 12 conference action. Baylor at West Virginia. Also Temple at UCF with the Space Commander Gus Malzahn making his way to the rocket ship. Anybody got any Thursday night action?
I do.
Let's go.
All right. So first, I'm going to go ahead and take a first half play here. I don't know that Temple's defense is quite as good as people think it is. If you look at who Temple has played, they're kind of sketchy. Their defense looks good, but who's the best QB they've played here? They played at Duke, and they lost 30-0, and probably could have been more. Lafayette, Rutgers, which just fired their OC, UMass, and at a Memphis team, and that was the game that I actually took Temple against UMass, or excuse me, against Memphis, and Memphis' offense was just a disaster in that game because of the injuries. I like the advanced metrics show this is like a top 75-ish defense. I'm not really sure I'm buying it. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 13.5 first half points here with UCF over Temple. I don't think Temple moves the ball that well with Warner, and I think UCF can score on these guys. I'm not really buying into this being that great of a defense just based on who they've played.
Did anyone make an argument they were that great of a defense?
No, but like compared to everything else on their sheet, they show up as okay. And I don't know, man. This could be a product more of the quarterbacks they've faced.
No, listen, when Bud finds the inefficiencies in the spreadsheet, it's usually a smart decision to follow him down.
The chat is fully agree with you, by the way. They're like, who has an opinion on Temple's defense?
Actually, I was taking the dog for a walk this morning, and I was stopped by 3 people that were like, "Can you believe what everybody's saying about the Temple defense?"
Can you believe what Stan Drayton has done there with that defense so far? We'll see it get tested against the Gus Bus this weekend. I'm out on Thursday. Anybody else got anything for Thursday night?
I don't have an official lock. I've got a Twitter tip out for Baylor -3.5, but the fact I'm not locking it up, inside baseball for all our live viewers, might tell you how confident I am in tonight's Twitter tip.
All right, what about Friday night action? We got another pair of games. Navy at SMU and UTSA at FIU. Anybody got a lock?
I got one.
Okay.
You going to, Chip?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the mids.
Ooh,
Give me like 12.5 points against an SMU team that, like, while feisty early, has just rolled off 3 straight losses, and defensively, I think when UCF put up 41 on them, I was like, that's interesting. And then you go back and you sort of look at the way this has gone, and you realize that, maybe this isn't just a product of having to go up against Talia Tagovailoa, of having to go up against Max Duggan and the most explosive offense. And I think that for SMU's defense, that this is going to be a little bit tough. I think Navy's playing with a little bit of juice. They've turned a corner right now. There's just too many daggum points for a Navy team that I think does all right in conference play when they have a competent team. And based on what I've seen, they are close to competent. So give me the mids plus the big number.
It does take big ships a long time to turn the corner, so maybe that's why it's taken 3 or 4 weeks.
So you getting in on UTSA, I'm guessing?
I am. Yeah. So FIU is really pretty damn bad. If you go back and find video of that FIU New Mexico State game, and we could probably play sicko mode for this, right? Because we forgot to play it for the Temple defense fade.
It's time for sicko mode. Let's go. I'm a little bit lower on some of the teams in the bottom of the Sun Belt. If things go wrong, they could be like UMass, UConn. That's kind of like sicko mode of a sicko mode.
FIU is just exceptionally bad. UConn housed them with ease last weekend. And the only win they have in the FBS, they did beat Bryant, if you guys remember when they came back there. We had some Bryant money lines. So I was very disappointed in that comeback. But New Mexico State, allowed like 3 explosive touchdowns on swing passes where they just didn't seem to tackle. And the one time I think they had like 9 guys on the field. It was a really weird game. That FIU doesn't seem to move the ball on anybody. And I know UTSA is banged up, but this is the same FIU team that just lost 73-0 to Western. And I don't think they're going to improve a lot this week. Tyrese Chambers, their like only good player on this team, left the game, didn't come back. I kind of doubt he's going to play on short rest on a Friday. I'm going to lay the 20 points in the first half here. I just think there's a lot of scores that work, right? 24-3 is a winner. 21-0 is a winner. Like 28-7 is a winner, even if we assume FIU scoring in the first half. I don't know that they are. But MGM, I think FanDuel has 20 as well here. So I'll
Are you worried about the Miami Knights field, the Miami Vice? I'd be concerned because that'll fire them up when they see that end zone. That's why I'm staying away.
That's right. I know. I'm almost tempted because of that field to start a lock fight here. Just come on.
Is it the worst program right now in all of football?
I was going to say, I want to see a lock fight where somebody is taking up arms to go to the cause of the FIU Panthers here on CBS Sports Network, the mothership.
I'm considering it now, and I almost took UCF just because of the space uniforms, because I feel like they're going to be extra hyped to be wearing those. So like they're going to cover with ease. But yeah, I don't know. I'm 8 units down on the season. I can't really afford to be taking shots like that right now.
That game at 8 p.m. Eastern time on the mothership. All right, turning our attention to Saturday. Let's get it going with the top 10 matchup, one of 3 matchups between undefeated teams, as we discussed. Number 10, Penn State at number 5, Michigan. Michigan still sitting right around the touchdown, 7 points, over under around 51. Anyone going to take a lock on this Big Ten East battle?
I am.
Let's do it.
Under 51.5. We talked about it on yesterday's show. This is a game where we're probably going to learn more about either one of these teams than we've learned at any point so far this season. But from what I have seen, I have a lot more confidence in the 2 defenses than I do the offenses. I think that since Michigan got out of its non-con and got into the Big Ten, it's still been good, but offensively, it's very choppy. It's very inefficient. It's relying on big plays from Blake Corum, and they're not really finding a whole lot elsewhere. I think Penn State, if you looked at their rushing game early in the season, it's pretty decent, but Nick Singleton's been kind of bottled up a bit since they've gotten into Big Ten play. Their offensive line has played better than we're used to seeing from Penn State, but they haven't really faced a whole lot of excellent defensive fronts aside from their season opener against Purdue. And that was the night where Sean Clifford was getting beat up, got hurt, had to leave for a while because he got, I think it was a hip pointer or some knee injury. I can't remember what it was at this point. And that was the night he was under more pressure than any other game we've seen. So I look at this game, I don't think it's going to be high scoring. And if you just look at the recent history of it, like out of the last 8 years, only 2 of the games have hit 50 points, let alone hit 52. So I don't know. I don't think this is going to be a high scoring game. I'm going to take the under, and I don't know who's going to win, but I don't think they're going to score more than 27 points getting there.
Lock it up.
Same thing?
Yep.
All right.
I think you've got 2 incredible defenses. I think you've got 2 incredible running backs in Corum versus Singleton. I think you have 2 coaches who understand the identity of their football teams that kind of no matter what is happening, they're going to stay committed to the run. Now, I think Michigan will be more tempted to take some shots down the field. I think they might trust J.J. McCarthy a little bit more, try to get him to hit on some of those big plays because the opportunity will be there. But I'm not really worried about either quarterback, throwing pick sixes. I think they're both kind of they're well taught into what we are, and it's a great defense and it's a great run game, and let's not screw this thing up. And I think this will be a bloodbath. I think it'll be a couple heavyweights trading blows, the difference of a couple of plays here and there, and I think it's ultimately going to be low scoring. I love it.
I lean Penn State plus the points, but do not feel confident enough to play it. That probably plays more into the low scoring, right? Just I don't think Michigan has, against a quality opponent, hit the gear where they're just going to run away from Penn State. If that happens, I will have equal amounts of positive thoughts about Michigan and also disappointment for a Penn State team that I think they were off last week, right? Or was last week the Northwestern game?
Penn State was off last week.
Yeah. If you come off the off week, show up in Ann Arbor and get dusted, then that is equally impressive by Michigan and also massively disappointing for a Penn State fan. I think it's going to be close. I think it's probably a 3, 4, 7-point game. So I would lean Penn State, but no official lock from me. Bud, you got any thought on this one? Bud and the mute button.
It's a war that never ends.
We got the vacuum going downstairs and the 1-year-old. So I lean Penn State here, but it's not enough for me to bet at 7. I'd put a little something on at 7.5 if it creeps back up.
Dustin in the chat asked, "What's the starting name right tackle for Penn State?" It's Caden Wallace. So now you know.
Was somebody trying to check you on your knowledge?
Somebody asked Bud for the name of the starting right tackle for Penn State.
Well, if he tells you about the Temple defense, he can certainly tell you about the starting right tackle for Penn State. All right, there's some more top 25 action there in the noon slate. Maybe we'll cycle back if nobody ends up dropping a lock on it. But we need to just go ahead and get there because we need to give a proper amount of time to number 3 Alabama at number 6 Tennessee. It is your SEC on CBS game of the week. Neyland Stadium is going to be on fire. Not like when that boat was actually on fire at the Vol Navy, in which time it was more of an ominous sign of where Tennessee football was. I'm just talking about the excitement. This got to be the first time that Tennessee fans are showing up with cigars in their pocket thinking they'll actually light them. This has got to be the most confident that a Tennessee fan has gone into that stadium feeling like they've got a shot at Alabama. The Crimson Tide are a 7-point favorite in this game, over under around 65.5. I hope that we've got locks on this game, but if not, we got to dig into all the different ways that this thing can be bet because it's a banger. So where are we at with Alabama, Tennessee? Let's start it off. Who's got a lock? All right.
Do you want to go first, Danny?
Sure. I'll go first. It's at 7 right now, right?
Yep.
Before it gets to 7.5, let me go ahead and scoop up the Tide. Sorry, Jordan. I wonder if all those Tennessee fans can sell their cigars to the Bama fans after this one that are going to be at the game. I kind of I'm torn because I would love to see Tennessee get off I would love to see them pull off this upset, something they haven't done 15 years. I'd love to see it. I feel like, and Tennessee's an awesome story, and they're a much better team last year, and you've got these two opposing forces, right? Tennessee comes in with a ton of momentum, and it feels like Bama is vulnerable, which I do think they're more vulnerable than they've been in years past. But I still think you've got to consider, because I think this is about Bryce Young returning too. Let's just make that clear. Like if we see Jalen Milroe out there, I'm running to the board and hedging somehow. I'm fine and taking the other side. Okay, so let's just make that clear. I think Bryce Young is playing. So you've got the best quarterback who makes a massive difference in this system. You've got Will Anderson, who really hasn't been as dominant as last year, but he's been the kind of one, like this defense is not as dominant as it's been in years past. Statistically, it's doing better, but it's not as dominant. And then you got Nick Saban. I think this game is about Bama kind of reminding people where they are and where Tennessee is. And I think it's close, but I think Bama pulls away late. So give me those. I'll lay those 7 points here on the road.
Do I come to Jordan's defense and take up arms against Daniel? No, I'm going to bet the under instead. I'm going to take the under 66 because the way I see this one breaking down, if Bryce Young is back, and I expect he is based on this spread, he did hurt his throwing shoulder. So is he 100% just 2 weeks later? Is he still only like 75, 80% and playing through it? I don't know. I don't expect Alabama to be chucking the ball down the field all day if there's any questions about his shoulder. If it's Jalen Milroe starting, we know they won't be chucking it down the field. So I do think that because of health, and just because of, kind of the matchup where they're going to want to keep the Tennessee offense off the field, I think we're going to see Alabama lean a little heavier on its run game in this one. And I think on the other side, like Danny, you mentioned Will Anderson. He hasn't been as dominant as he was last year, although he is still garnering first place votes from the Athletics Heisman straw poll. But anyways, he's still having a very good season. But if you're Tennessee, like, you have to slow him down. And what's the best way to slow Will Anderson down? Run the ball. Like if they have to respect your ability to run the ball, it's going to slow them down up front and kind of take it away. So I could see both of these teams taking that sort of approach. We're going to see, it's going to limit possessions. And I just think that honestly, 66 is a little too high. I think they're counting a little too much on Tennessee's offense being great when Tennessee hasn't faced a defense this good yet. So give me the under 66.
I thought about fighting Tom here, but I'm not going to. I'm actually going to go Alabama team total over 36.5.
Ooh.
So again, I think Bryce is playing. I want to just pose a question to you guys. You have a chance to design a fantasy team of the best 4 quarters of quarterback play that Tennessee's defense has faced so far this year. I assume we're going to take Keaton Slovis first half. Who is your second half? Is it Anthony Richardson? Certainly not Daniels. I mean, Akron.
It's probably Anthony Richardson, right? He had the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Tennessee's defense is kind of suspect. And I did think about over here. I make it like 67. So I just think that without Burrell, who's out for the year, right? And then we can say McCullough is the guy who got arrested is not good, but he's still starting for you. And he's played, 200 snaps? So what does that say about the backups? I think Bama can get to 40 here. I just don't know if they're going to get enough stops to cover the 7. But, yeah, Bama team total for me.
Tom and I on lock agreements are 0-3 on the season.
Yeah, we are. I think Danny and I are like 1-5, but I don't think that's you and Danny. I think that's just me.
I mentioned on the Early Edge show yesterday that my lean here is with Tom. It's with the under, and I would almost like lean a fight against Bud because Alabama, with the exception of the really fast start against Arkansas, which I was saying on CBS Sports HQ is probably one of the biggest keys for Alabama is to get off to a fast start. Like this offense has been different on the road. This offense has been different on the road all the way going back to last season. Bryce Young has been different on the road. He's been able to come up with some heroics. Obviously, the Texas game earlier this year, the Iron Bowl last year. I don't know. I lean under. No official lock for me. Also in the 3:30, undefeated against undefeated Oklahoma State, 5-0. TCU, 5-0. Game's going to be in Fort Worth. The Horned Frogs are 4-point home favorites, over under of 68.5. Who's got a lock? Over. We will continue to play these TCU overs as long as they continue to field an offense that, yes, is one of the nation's best, but the points that they give up are continuing to rise. I know that we got really lucky with that Kansas game, but we also did that with superstar backup Jason Bean. Also, Oklahoma State's defense giving up a bunch of points. I mean, thank goodness Spencer Sanders is on a roll and playing terrific football right now. I think this one goes back and forth. I think this one is finishing in the 70s. So give me the over 68.5 for Oklahoma State TCU.
I don't hate it. I'm not betting anything in this game. I don't know. I don't know. I fear TCU's in for a letdown of sorts because they've been flying high the last couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, you're on that like the stacking Oklahoma on top of Kansas. You had SMU even before that. Mm-hmm. Are they gonna burn out? Or
they are college kids, and we see it every single year with a bunch of different teams.
I saw Texas Tech put up 527. I saw Baylor put up 457. Yeah. Central Michigan got over 500. Like Oklahoma State's doing a good job of coming up with third down stops and getting it where they can. But I think there's going to be a boatload of yards and points in this game.
I agree with you. Chip, not lock agreement, but similar lock. I'm going over 34 in the first half. Keep in mind, one of Oklahoma State's starting safeties got tossed for targeting in the second half, which means he will be down in the first half. Oklahoma State has also been able to score in the first half of games, as they did against Baylor. TCU, I think, will do a pretty good job of getting points early in this one. Yeah, I think over 34 is a good look here in the first half. But I agree it'll be pointsy.
All right, let's take it on into the night slate. let's see. Which one do y'all want to give? Let's just go ahead and do number 7 USC at number 20 Utah. This is the undefeated Trojans find themselves as 3.5-point underdogs over under of 65. Who is going to step into this arena? Where? All right, Danny, go ahead. Go for it.
Give me the Utes. Lay them points. I think the Utah back-to-back losses, struggling somewhat, need a win, a little more desperation for them. I think the UCLA game was more about UCLA's physicality, being able to match that, being a really good football team, than it was about Utah being down. Not back-to-back losses. I'm just thinking about the Florida game. They also could have won. I think Utah could easily be a one-loss team. If one of those plays, if Tavion Thomas doesn't slip, they beat the Gators. And then all of a sudden, are we talking about this game the same way? I think that's why the line is where it is. Even though Utah's a 2-loss team, I think Vegas knows. I think playing at Rice Eccles, the place is going to be absolutely on fire. Jordan Addison, a little bit dinged up. You've got an offense that has not been as prolific lately as we thought it was going to be at USC. And I think you are going to see Utah content to run, work in some Cam Rising, coming off a rough game for him. But I think this game will be when USC comes back to earth somewhat. So give me the Utes and lay the 3.5.
Man, I took some USC on Sunday, and the more I looked at this, the more I think Danny's got the right side. I'm a little sketchy about USC on the road here. And like you guys know, I've been betting against Utah for weeks, and I don't think they're that great, but they are a little different at home. They might be able to do some things that can frustrate USC in a way that they couldn't frustrate UCLA. We'll see.
I'm not locking it up, but he's thrown one all season. Find the interception prop on Caleb Williams and take the over half. He's going to throw an interception in this game.
14 touchdowns to 1 interception. The man has thrown less than 52% in terms of completion percentage in 2 of the last 3 games. This offense is really as much about whether Travis Dye can move the ball on the ground against this Utah defense as anything else. And that's going to be massively important. 10 interceptions also for Utah. That is 3rd in the country. They are darn good at turning them over. And you mentioned playing at home, 81-25 in the Kyle Whittingham era in Salt Lake City in Rice Eccles Stadium. Now, USC did win last time they were there, 33-17. But I don't know if y'all remember this. It was so cold at the game that the TV feed cut out. They could not operate the cameras, and they could not operate which I think I remember at the time joking that the cameramen and camerawomen were just like, nope, I'm out. Pass. I'm a union hire. We're not doing this right now. It's too cold. But yeah, the ESPN feed cut out. It was so cold. The USC rode a big field goal kicking day to a 33-17 win, but that was their first win in Salt Lake City since 2012. It is 4-3 to Utah in terms of when these two teams have played in Rice Eccles. Yeah, Matt, huge game, fascinating. One of the games of the year in the Pac-12, no doubt. Coming up on the other side, we open up the board. Anything goes. We unroll the rest of our Week 7 locks. Next.
We're home now, Ellie. We have to be more careful.
What if this is all I'll ever be?
That's not who you are! What was I supposed to do? Let my child suffer.
The old members have told you, the long-time members who have been enjoying what being a part of the Peloton community is like, because it's not just about bikes and treadmills. It's about a team of instructors that's ready to motivate you 24/7. There are literally thousands of classes ranging from strength training to yoga, running, boxing. And it means that Peloton is the perfect non-judgmental space for you to experiment with new types of movement at a level and at a pace that feels good for you. So you can try something out. Maybe it's not for you. You can just rotate to something else. It is that time where we're spending more time inside. And so you want to get creative. You want to mix it up. And man, we are getting super busy. The college football season is hitting that point where it's just a speed rush down the hill to the national championship game. Holidays are coming up for everybody. It doesn't matter if you have 5 minutes or an hour. It doesn't matter if you're trying to get it in at 5:30 in the morning or at 8 p.m. at night. There is a Peloton class that fits your day. Maybe you're just looking for that 10-minute upper body stretch between calls or a 30-minute run before bed. Peloton is where you'll find what works for you. Of course, you know the challenge has been issued. Our guys, Danny and Tom, have been out there saying, hey, you want to come? You want to come look for me on the leaderboard? You can do it. They are here to motivate you as well. Tom, what kind of classes have you been getting into?
I took a 30-minute rock ride with Dennis Morton this morning, and it was excellent. It had corn on it, which is a little weird for me at 7:30 in the morning to have Freak on a leash blasting while I'm on the bike. It was kind of hard to stay on the bike while it was going, honestly.
Oh.
But it was a great time, and I'm a little sore right now. So I'm playing through the pain after kicking ass on the bike this morning.
Danny,
Love
what's
it.
been rocking?
So I love the different music options you can find out there. I did a class with Alex Toussaint yesterday. He's one of my favorites. And then I was looking for something new. You know what I did this morning? I did a dude in Germany. So he was speaking German, but guess what they have? Subtitles. And so he had a Daddy Yankee music theme. So I had the music on and I'm reading the instructions of what to do. And I just feel like I'm an international rock star when I'm out there doing the Peloton. So outstanding. You always got a lot of options out there.
It's like Du hast.
Yeah, Mr. Worldwide, Danny Cannell going international on it. I mean, we're not kidding. There are thousands of classes, and now, as Danny is telling you, in multiple languages. It's motivation that moves you anytime, anywhere. Try the Peloton bike or tread risk-free for 30 days. Learn more at onepeloton.com. That is ONE, Peloton, Peloton.com. Once again, onepeloton.com. New members only. Terms apply. All right, so the honors on the T-Box go to Danny. You were 5-4 last week, up 0.6 units. You got 3 on the board already with Penn State-Michigan under, Alabama -7, and Utah -3.5. Where would you like to go?
Let's go. Let's just get it out of the way. Let's go to Tallahassee, prime time with my Florida State Seminoles. I got over 500. I'm 3-2 when I'm picking any play in their game. You just have that feeling. You know how when you're playing baseball and you have a couple errors and you're like, please don't hit it to me. Please don't hit it to me. And it always ends up hitting. You just know this game's coming down to a field goal, right? Like that's what's going to happen. Florida State lines up for a field goal. I don't want to take a side. I am going to tackle the under in this one. I'm going to take the under on the total. I think Florida State's defense, I think it'll be one of the stoutest defenses that Clemson has faced. I also think Florida State will struggle in the offensive side of the football. And we talked about it yesterday. I think Jordan Travis will have to do more with his legs than he's done. I think there'll be some big play opportunities to be there against Clemson's defense. But I just think after what I saw in the second half of that NC State game, I wonder if there's a little bit of confidence issues. I think you'll see Florida State's defense show up. I'm still not sold on DJU as being like this prolific passer. I think Florida State's defense will have some success. So give me the under. It's a low total already, 51. I'll take the under.
51.5.
Perfect.
I kept scripting out what the under would look like. Because, hey, big game Dabo, let's go let our defense win this. And all the different scores I kept coming up with for what I could see as the realistic path to an under. We're also Clemson covering this spread. I'm going to take Clemson, and I'm going to lay these points right now. We're expecting to have Brian Brzee back. We mentioned in the last episode about how Xavier Thomas in 6 snaps had 2 sacks and 4 quarterback knockdowns. I think that in the final ACC road game of the season, again, on October 15th, this is going to be the final conference road game of the season. I think that Dabo tries to tune this group up. I think that the defense leads the way. Under probably cashes as well. So we've got a lot of ways that we can both win this. But I think that of all the different ways that it can go, I would rather have Clemson minus the points than rather be sweating what's happening at the end of the game. Jordan Travis kicked down the back or front door on the total near the end. So give me the Tigers. I'll lay the points on the road.
Lock agreement. feel like we're walking into a trap of some kind. Why the hell is Clemson only a 3.5-point favorite in this game? I don't understand it. I'm not going to question it, but I'm going to take Clemson minus 3.5 for a lot of the reasons you already shared. And Danny, as you were mentioning, like we won that lock war yesterday or last week. That was we won that game dirty. And just like if Florida State couldn't beat NC State in that situation without Devin Leary, with NC State playing with one arm tied behind its back, I just don't see how it's going to be able to hold up against Clemson for 60 minutes here. So give me the Tigers minus 3.5.
Lock unity? Yeah.
I can't dance to that. I can't get any groove going on that play.
Yeah, I play the music. I'm not dancing. Look, so 2 weeks in a row, teams have been very effective at getting pressure on the Noles while rushing just 3 and dropping 8. They're trying to limit FSU's explosive plays. They're daring them to drive. And for the most part, they have been successful with those dares. I think the computers see Clemson as worse than it actually is for a couple of reasons. Number one, Clemson has allowed some, what I will call pseudo garbage time scores, right? To where like they gave up that late touchdown to NC State. Now that's not technically in garbage time, but it's like a minute left and you're up, 17? So by the definition, no. By common sense, yes. Clemson's also getting back some really important guys on defense. They're getting back Brzee, I think. Xavier Thomas is supposed to be back. I think you're getting a couple guys back in the secondary. We'll see about the one corner. But they've been like having to play a linebacker at safety for a couple weeks. And now they get those guys back. They've already gone on the road several times in conference play, right? Georgia Tech's not technically on the road, so shouldn't count that. But, Wake, they went to Boston College in a game that should have been kind of a hangover game, and they covered that. DJU is actually number 1 in the nation in PFF's big-time throw rate. I have this 34-23. And I honestly, I thought about the under here too, Tom, even though I have that score. But given the lack of the kicker, you're probably going to have some possessions that either finish in touchdowns that normally would finish in field goals because they have to go for it more in fourth, or better starting field position for Clemson because like you're at like the plus 42 and you got to go for it, whereas you might punt otherwise.
Do you know who actually has a better big-time throw rate? He's just not qualified yet because he hasn't played enough.
Is it Art Sikowski?
No, it's the best quarterback in the country, Quinn Ewers.
That's fair.
Dig it.
But DJU, I think, he's second or third. And I think he's first overall for big-time throws total.
Tom already has Penn State-Michigan under 51.5. He's got the Tennessee-Alabama under 66 and the Clemson minus 3.5. Where would you like to go next?
I'm going to go back to the well.
Kansas
plus 9. Like, I understand that Dylan Gabriel is expected to be back. That is why Oklahoma is a 9-point favorite in this game. Kansas will not have Jalen Daniels. It will have Jason Bean. I don't care. Oklahoma is not 9 points better than Kansas. Oklahoma is not 9 points better than anybody in the Big 12. It should not be favored by this much. And as we saw last week, the drop-off from Jalen Daniels to Jason Bean doesn't really exist. Jason Bean's plenty of experience. He's got plenty of talent himself, and this is a very well-coached and schemed-well offense with a very good game plan. And give him a week to go up against this Oklahoma defense that can't stop anybody and is also dealing with a bunch of injuries of its own on the defensive side of the ball. Like, everybody pay attention to the Dylan Gabriel injury. It's not the only one Oklahoma's dealing with. You added all the transfers from the offseason, all the injuries that they've had during the season. That depth on the defensive side of the ball is being sorely tested, and Kansas is going to poke and prod on it for 60 minutes on Saturday. They are going to cover this with ease. Give me the Jayhawks plus 9.
I have something.
Would you do it at 7?
Oh,
yes,
you would.
I would not do it at 7. I would consider 9 for sure. Oklahoma's defense has handled motion terribly this year, right? Like, I know Quinn Ewers has a good big-time throw rate, but they also have his wide open throw rate in that game against Texas was pretty nuts. Kansas does a great job of scheming that stuff open, right? I mean, they really do. Like, think about just all the motions they do and the shifts and how poorly Oklahoma communicates on defense. Now, maybe OU will play a little simpler on defense this weekend. My guess is that they will. Maybe they'll try to allow fewer explosive plays. But, I mean, guys, we got 61.5 hanging out there at a couple shops. I got to go over that, right? Actually, that move. Give me over 62 then.
Okay.
Over 62 in this one. I do think Gabriel being back is a big deal. Like, they don't have another quarterback. Offense should be a little healthier in this game. I think they can score mid-30s, and I think that Kansas can get to 28.
Those 4 teams are all at the bottom of the Big 12. Kansas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, TCU. They just give it up. Very friendly. Very, very accommodating. They go and they give you the big candy bars. So yeah, I'm on that over as well.
Speaking of big candy bars and Halloween, it's like I live in a new neighborhood now, and I'm trying to figure out how much candy I'm going to have to buy this year, because when we were in the city, you didn't get too many trick-or-treaters. So it's like now I'm worried we're not going to have enough. So what do you guys think? What should I do? Like 3 bags, 4 bags? Keep in mind, anything that's left, I get to eat. So
4 bags.
4 bags.
You always want to have too much as opposed to too little.
Yeah. And then you can go like you did with Butcher's Box and just pass around to the neighbors afterwards. Ingratiate yourself.
We should probably discuss this next week because it'll be closer to Halloween. But like Danny, as somebody who has older kids than Chip and I, what is the appropriate level of dad tax? That should be something we discuss next week, because like
for sure.
You got to safety inspect the candy and
and
you know.
pull out just a little bit. All right, so let's go. Quick review. I just mentioned Tom is on the under 51.5, the Tennessee, Alabama under 66, Clemson minus 3.5, Kansas plus 9. I've got Navy plus 12.5, the Oklahoma State TCU over 68.5, Clemson minus 3.5, Kansas, Oklahoma over 62. Danny's got Penn State-Michigan under 51.5, Alabama minus 7, Utah minus 3.5, Florida State, Clemson under 51.5. Bud's got the UCF first half minus 13.5, UTSA first half minus 20, Clemson minus 3.5, Kansas, Oklahoma over 62, Alabama team total over 36.5, and the Oklahoma State TCU first half over 34. Danny, where would you like to go next?
Let's go to the Big 12, where we've got a Texas team that is being talked about as potentially making the college football playoff with 2 losses. We're talking about Quinn Ewers a whole lot. You know, we're not talking about a team that has beat them 3 years in a row straight up, that is coming to town. Matt Campbell, I will remind you, is 9-0 against the spread as an underdog of 6 or more points since the start of the 2017 season. That's the best in the FBS. Texas may be back, and I think they would love to have some style points in this one, but I think Matt Campbell and his squad will say not so fast. I think they'll have some success shutting down Bijan. No, I won't say shutting down, slowing down Bijan Robinson. So give me Iowa State and those 16.5 points. Iowa State, by the way, they've got 3 consecutive losses, all by 1 possession, including just the field goal against a very good Kansas team, and a 1-point loss where their offense couldn't do anything against Kansas State. I think they'll be able to slow down Texas' offense. I think Texas wins by 2 touchdowns, but not the 16.5.
Fight.
Oh, I love Quinn Ewers.
Fight.
Now, there is a Texas minus 15.5 out there, so maybe we'll middle, but we won't, because Texas is going to win this thing by at least 3 touchdowns. Iowa State did a great job of slowing down Kansas, but Iowa State does not have the personnel to stop Texas's passing attack, because A, Texas has the best quarterback in the country, and B, that quarterback has a whole lot of weapons at the receiver position that Kansas just doesn't have. While they can scheme guys open, Texas can scheme guys open, and they have guys who can just get open. And I don't think Iowa State's going to have a whole lot for them in the back end to slow them down. I think Texas is going to roll here at home. I think they're feeling good. I think this offense is finally starting to hum. And I just think this is a much different team with Ewers at QB than it is with Hudson Card. And I also think defensively, while they're not great, this is a Longhorns team that has taken some steps forward this year. And I don't really like the Iowa State offense very much, because you mentioned how they hung with Kansas and they kept them within 3. Kansas's defense hasn't stopped anybody, but it stopped Iowa State. So not too confident there. So give me the Longhorns.
Wow, there's so much differing of opinion. It's like the game is exciting. It's almost like the game is a first-round draft pick kind of game on Saturday.
No.
Don't tell us that.
It's like what? There's 6 games between ranked teams this weekend, and you didn't get a single one.
Well, let me just go ahead and tell you that I've got a lock on one of those games between ranked teams that we haven't talked about. Give me the Pack plus the 3.5 going to the Dome where it will be electric. The best unit on the field is NC State's defense. And I think that group, with some time to put together a game plan, they're going to lead the way. They're going to play ball control. We're getting a little bit healthier at wide receiver, which might not matter considering how many pass attempts they had last year with Jack Chambers returning at law. But we are also getting healthier at running back with Demi Sumo Kongbe back in the lineup. He runs hard and mean. I like his style a lot. So I'm going to take NC State to cover this 3.5. I see this one being extremely low scoring. I do not hate the under, but when I look at what Syracuse has done this year, both of the wins were at home. But when you take into consideration the way the games played out, do you think that NC State's win against Texas Tech was more impressive than Syracuse's win against Purdue?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Beating Purdue is more impressive?
I mean, I don't think either of them were that impressive, honestly. I don't mean to say either of the teams they beat were bad. I just feel like that Syracuse-Purdue game was weird. So, yeah, sure, NC State beating Florida State was more impressive.
I think NC State's more battle-tested here. I think that NC State is coming in, obviously, with their hand tied behind their back. And also, I'll throw back this reference here. Devin Leary went down with an injury in the 2020 season, and Tim Beck just sort of duct taped together an offense that still got that NC State team to a 7-3 record in ACC play in the 10-game conference schedule that they had that year. So this is not the first time that this offensive staff has had to get creative after losing Devin Leary and come up with a new offense. Y'all's boy, Bailey Hockman, was the one that was still able to guide the Wolfpack to some victories. So give me
who did he play there? Like, I'm trying to remember who Bailey Hockman played against.
Down the stretch of that 2020 season?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm a Tim Beck skeptic, as you guys know. So I just for my own edification, I was kind of curious who he played.
Okay. Well, we can.
All right. We'll do it post.
Call it up.
Let's just be real, though.
ACC boys.
Right.
Gonna have a little tussle in this one.
Oh, wow.
Fight.
Yeah.
Fight.
I told you we're going to get the Dino drop sooner or later. NC State, I saw that offense. It was piss poor against Florida State in the second half. They're going to try to run the football. Guess who's pretty good against the run? Syracuse's defense. And I think Robert and I's system will find a way to put up some points on NC State's defense. Give me Dino. Give me the orange. Laying 3.5. I'll take them at whatever they're calling the Dome right now. Give me Syracuse.
The reception will be fuzzy in the JMA Wireless Dome on Saturday afternoon. That's ACC boys getting into it. Danny throwing some blood on the table all over the place. You gotta love it. And look, truthfully, a no-lose situation. I play the Dino. I take a lock fight loss, but play the Dino drop. What an amazing hedge as I look at my Saturday. All right, Danny, how many do you have left?
I put them in the chat. I got to run.
Okay.
I only have one more play. It's BYU playing Arkansas in Provo, getting 1.5. I like them. They're getting healthy. KJ Jefferson, I do think will probably play coming back, but I think this is a Super Bowl type of game for BYU coming off a loss to a very good Notre Dame team. I like their chances here playing at home.
Slapping meats. Love it right there. Anybody else got to play on BYU Arkansas?
I mean, I'm going to pass it.
I'm excited for it. But
I think it's going to be a good game. I'm really close to lock agreement with Danny.
That BYU gets it done at home.
Yeah, I just hope this thing steams a little bit and we can get something, like a 2.
Like an official KJ Jefferson. Like the line is already baked in, like KJ Jefferson's probably playing. Then you get the official announcement and then a rush. It gets it out to maybe a 2 or 2.5. What ends up happening with that? Can it move even more than that?
I mean, maybe it goes to 3. We saw some moves last week that were just dumb, right? Like I told a friend of mine, hey, I want to bet Oregon State, right? But don't bet it yet because they're going to announce that Chance Nolan ain't playing, and people are going to downgrade Oregon State for Chance Nolan not playing for no reason. Like he's not any better than the backup is. And sure enough, it went 6.5 to 4.5. I mean, the bet still lost, but like, yes, people do blindly bet quarterback out news on Saturdays when most of the people doing this have known for quite a while.
I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. I'm surprised it hasn't been mentioned yet. Let's go. Minnesota, Illinois under 38.5, 9.5. Where are we at?
39 is the best. Or no, there's 39.5s out there if you're going under.
Right, let's go. We are going under Minnesota, Illinois, under 39.5. Our pal Jake Fettner from Sportsline, aka the Fett Show, he rolled out Brett Bielema in Big Ten play at home. Small sample size, admittedly, but the under just cashes. It's the way that man likes to win. And the fact that we've got Art Sitkowski in at quarterback both adds to the coaching emphasis of trying to win this game with an elite defense and also probably limits what Illinois' offensive ceiling is. So, yeah, give me Illinois, Minnesota under 39.5.
Lock agreement. This game isn't going to be any different than the Iowa game was last week. And Art Sitkowski, the only difference is Art Sitkowski turnover potential could leave Minnesota with some short fields, but Minnesota, it has a passing attack, but it is still mostly a rushing team. I think it's 5th nationally in rushing yards per game, but we've seen nobody's been able to run the ball against Illinois. If you go look at Braylon Allen's game log, it's like 85 yards, 112 yards, 96 yards, 140 yards. And that was against Ohio State. Illinois, 2 yards. Northwestern, 140 yards. Nobody can run the ball on this Illinois defense. I think that they are going to be able to take that away from Minnesota, force Tanner Morgan in that passing attack to beat them. And I think Minnesota's probably got the best passing attack that Illinois has faced so far, but Illinois' pass rush is really good, and I don't know how much time or how effective they're going to be. So I don't see either team scoring more than 17 points in this game, which means the total can't go over 39 unless it's 17-17 and they get to overtime.
Guys, I don't mind you betting 39, but since you're my friends, MGM, FanDuel, DraftKings all have 39.5. So I would encourage us to take 39.5 just for,
I would take 30, honestly.
Okay. All right. Counterpoint. Sitkowski is playing quarterback, and I feel like that just increases the variance on this thing just incredibly, right? Like his propensity for throwing pick sixes, he's kind of a turnover machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I also don't think Illinois is going to throw very often.
Yeah, I mean, it's just run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Run the ball and play field position.
There's going to be a whole lot. Even Barry Lundy, the offensive coordinator, because there was one play in the game last week where it was an RPO at the goal line. They had Sitkowski roll out, and he threw an interception at the goal line. And Lundy, the offensive coordinator, after the game said, yeah, that's on me. I shouldn't have put him in that situation. So that tells you kind of what the plan's probably going to be.
Where the confidence is with this team.
Yeah.
Bud, how many do you have left?
I have at least one, which if it's my turn, I will get to it right here. I am taking the under 28.5 first half in Auburn-Ole Miss. Auburn had 2 more offensive linemen go down in that game, Jackson and Troxel. I don't know what their status is. I like that they've already wasted their fake punt, so maybe they won't be able to hit that on Ole Miss. Ole Miss doesn't have Trig. I just think that this is going under, kind of an ugly first half, and under 28.5 for me. Also, I'm in lock agreement with the dentist on this. I had this before he texted me this morning, but now I'm even more on it. Quote, I'm having a hard time with this one. The line is incredibly big for an Ole Miss Auburn game, a series which has been dominated by Auburn my entire life. Even last year when Ole Miss had superior team, Corral gets hurt and Ole Miss loses the game outright. That seems repeatable. But I can't get the Penn State-Auburn game out of my head. And Kiffin mentioned several times this week he has not beaten Auburn yet. I think there's an extra motivation here to win this game. Ole Miss will be without tight end Trig, and the fall off for that position is significant, I'm told. Although he misspelled Trig, he calls him Trigg, so that makes me a little skeptical. Dennis knows what he's talking about his own roster here, but I continue. So the question for me is how Ole Miss offense will do. We will see Penn State blow out as Auburn quits, or see a lower scoring game, since I have seen Ole Miss blow out Auburn in 40 years. I'll have to stick with my gut here and focus on an under. 55.5 feels very sweaty, just in case the Auburn quit scenario. So I'll take the under in the first half.
Quit factor plus Lane running it up. Definitely something that would keep me away from going full game under.
Yeah. We all agree the funniest possible outcome here is that Auburn wins, right?
Without a doubt.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, that would be incredible.
Auburn wins, you just go like a bunch of Auburn boosters in the crowd looking like this.
Yeah, it's the actual storyline of Major League.
Yeah.
Like the owner just wants nothing more to lose, and the team refuses to lose. I don't know. Is Robbie Ashford Wild Thing Vaughn? Is that how this ends up playing out?
Yeah.
All right. So
sorry.
Couple top 25 games that we have not touched on. Glad you got to that one. Georgia Vanderbilt. Georgia favored by 38 over under a 58.5. Anyone touching that?
No, but I do have 4 picks left.
Okay. Mississippi State, Kentucky, ranked on ranked. Will Levis seems to be playing. That line has dropped from 7 to 6.5, all the way down to 4 over under a 49. Anyone got to play from Kroger Field?
Not locking it up, but I lean to the under.
Yeah, same. I just hopefully this steams up a little bit with the news of Levis playing.
Mm-hmm,
we can get a better number on under.
Like if it gets up to like in the 50s, I might.
Hasn't the adjustment already happened?
But people start like late money starts coming in.
The appropriate adjustment has happened. Has the actual adjustment happened, or has like the full adjustment's going to happen? I don't know.
I lean Mississippi State. I think it's time to get Kentucky out the paint. But
oh no, they'll drop to 25 if they lose this game.
You know the line in Aladdin where he's like, "How many times do I have to kill you?" Like that's us to Kentucky in the AP. Like, what do we got to do?
What do we have to do, Kentucky? Yeah, they're going to be 4-3, ranked number 25 in the country because they lost, but they were supposed to lose. They were an underdog. Lean Mississippi State, but I'm worried that that's too much hate in my heart. And like I said, we're cleansing, going for positivity right now. All right, Tom, you said you got 4 more?
Yeah.
I've got 1 more. Why don't you go ahead and take us where you want to go?
All right, I will start. I'll go to the ACC. I'm going to take the under 47 in Miami, Virginia Tech. I just don't think Virginia Tech is going to score a whole lot of points. And I was on Slow News Day with Kevin Clark. That'll be out today or tomorrow. We were talking about how amazing it is that Miami has been able to find like 5 wide receivers in South Florida who cannot run fast or get separation. So I think that this is going to be a lower scoring game. And I also think that just Mario Cristobal's entire persona, the way to respond to adversity is to get more conservative, slow things down, and just get into a rock fight. So under 47, Miami, Virginia Tech.
I forgot that I've got another one out there. I feel like you got to
lock agreement with Tom there.
Oh,
we got 47.5. Yeah. If you're Mario Cristobal, you're sitting there, you're thinking, man, Pitt just had a running back run 36 times. That is sexy as hell. Think about that, right? Oh my gosh, Vatek's run defense. Let's go out and run the football, grind this pace, show our toughness. Looks Zion Nelson probably won't play. Justin Wallace on their starting guard for Miami probably won't play. Don't really want to chuck it around on the road. It's kind of dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Defense still looks okay. Tyreek Stevenson should play. I'm locking agreement with Tom there.
What's our North Carolina team total? I don't see it on Caesars right now.
Well, I have a couple books open because they are just now popping up. Let's see. It's going to be like a 37, I think, Tom or Chip. Let me
over. I mean,
I got a 36.5 here for you.
Yeah.
Let me see here. That's kind of juiced. We don't want to be accused of the juice. Here's an even juice one, 37.
Okay. North Carolina team total over 37. I mentioned some of the. I think I mentioned. Didn't I talk about if Duke from 3 weeks ago plays this game? I think I'm picking Duke to win, but they have taken a lot of injuries in recent weeks, and I just don't think that Mike Elko has built up that team to where they've got the kind of depth to be able to sustain multiple injuries on both sides of the ball. They're hoping to get a little bit healthier at wide receiver, so I do think it's possible that Riley Leonard and the Duke offense is going to be able to score on this North Carolina defense. I mean, huge game, rivalry game, but in the case that Duke's offense cannot get going, the one thing that I'm most certain about is that Drake May and North Carolina's offense will score in this game. So in the battle for the victory bell, give me North Carolina team total over 37.
I have a play on this game as well.
All right,
let's hear lines. I am taking the over 66.5. And maybe I should just go with you as a team total, because did you see the helmets that North Carolina will be wearing?
The Chromes?
Those are some over-ass helmets. Those are helmets that a team that has absolutely no desire to play defense but just wants to score points is going to wear. So just strictly based off of that, over 66.5 UNC Duke.
All right, I also have a play in this game. I'm just trying to figure out which of you two I'm going to join, because I'm betting all three things. All right, let's play which is the best passing offense that Duke's defense has faced so far this year. In order, we have Georgia Tech, Virginia, Temple, Northwestern,
studs,
North Carolina A&T,
but Kansas
or Kansas.
Kansas.
I agree. I think it was Kansas. I am not really sure that Duke's passing defense is all that good. So they're pretty good at like not allowing explosives, but I just think North Carolina has a different level of athleticism on offense here to really anything that they face. So I'm going to join Chip on that over 37 team total.
Yes. Love that UNC Duke in football is just getting a lot of action here in the 67th minute of the Cover 3 podcast. All right, I got one more.
67th minute for 67 points, huh? How about that? Let's get it.
Hey, there you go. Tom, how many more do you have? 3?
I have 2.
Okay.
Do you want me to go first so that way we can alternate?
Sure.
Give me Arizona plus 14.5 against Washington. I think Washington's kind of been coming back to earth a little bit, and I don't think the market's caught on quite yet to how things have been, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think Arizona, pretty frisky, pretty explosive. I don't think having them cover 2 touchdowns is too much to ask, and I'm getting that hook. That's pretty crucial. So go Jed Fish plus 14.5. I
mean, this is one of the biggest games of the weekend. Our own Bud Elliott did draft it as his wild card in the Viewer's Guide draft. Points aplenty, and that means Arizona's scoring them too. No defense, and we got a hook too. I like that. Last play is, we talked about overreaction to quarterback news. This is quarterback news that has already been out there, so the market adjustment has already happened. But Fresno State cannot wait to have Jake Haener back, and it does not look like Jake Haener is going to be back for this game at home against the San Jose State defense that is not only terrific, but also offensively. The Spartans, against UNLV kind of got this thing rolling just a little bit. Remember, they put up 40 against UNLV. They put up 33 against Wyoming on the road. They put up 34 against Western Michigan. I think that covering 8.5 is well within the potential for a team that is emerging as one of the best there in the Mountain West. So give me San Jose State minus 8.5 at Fresno State. And then I mentioned this yesterday. If you want to go all the way vibes on this thing, I believe that it's like a Devontae Adams celebration game. Vibes can't be good when you're celebrating the Devontae Adams era after he ran into Hunter Renfrow and then a cameraman all within the same hour and a half span. So yeah, I'm going to go with the San Jose State minus 8.5. And it's also a little late night Petros Fest. So you got to at least get some action there.
I have one more I'm going to throw on here, and this is just disgusting. This is what I probably should have saved sicko mode for. And I don't even know how this gets there, but just my numbers say I have to bet this, so I'll just give it out. I'm taking Miami, Ohio, Bowling Green over 44.5 points.
Bro.
Yeah, I know. Avion Smith is playing a little bit better at quarterback in the absence of Brett Gabbert for Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio's defense is good. Bowling Green is an extremely high variance team. Like they do some wild stuff. Like they beat Marshall and then they lost to Eastern Kentucky. I just think this should be like 47. So 47.5. I'm going to bet the 44.5.
I'll tell you how it gets over 44.5. Bowling Green has more field goals turned into defensive touchdowns like it did last
Work too.
Yeah.
Dude, Bowling Green got inside the 20 like 5 times, came away with negative points.
Yeah. Shouldn't laugh. They're kids.
No, we can laugh because it is remarkable. It is incredible. It is beyond belief or expectation. So we can laugh.
All right. My final play, another MAC game. Taking the under, though. Under 67.5 in Northern Illinois, Eastern Michigan. Northern Illinois cannot keep going over the total with the way it plays football. It's just not meant to happen. I don't know what's going on. There's got to be some sort of course correction eventually. And damn it, it is going to happen on Saturday in Ypsilanti.
All right. That it? Anything else?
We doing sprinkles?
All right. First we'll do a quick review and then we'll knock it out. By the way, the chat is calling for New Mexico State thoughts.
New Mexico plus the point.
Yes.
Yeah.
New Mexico actually had their top 2 receivers and I think their top tight end or 2 suspended last week. Am I like out of focus now for some reason?
Hold your hand up to the camera and then slowly pull it away.
Yeah. For a little while my camera was operating like New Mexico State's offense. So apologies for that, folks. I suspect New Mexico is getting some of these guys back who were like held out for not meeting standards or whatever last week. They have a new OC coming in, or at least just promoted from within. New Mexico State's pretty damn bad. And if you watch New Mexico State's defense or New Mexico's defense, they do force you to throw the football effectively. And that is not something that New Mexico State does well at all. Like they do shut the run down okay for New Mexico.
To review, Tom is on Penn State-Michigan under 51.5, the Tennessee-Alabama under 66, Clemson minus 3.5, Kansas plus 9, Texas minus 15.5, Miami-Virginia Tech under 47.5, Illinois-Minnesota under 39.5, North Carolina-Duke over 66.5, Arizona plus 14.5, Northern Illinois-Eastern Michigan under 67.5. I am on Navy plus 12.5, Oklahoma State-TCU over 68.5, Clemson minus 3.5, Kansas-Oklahoma over 62, North Carolina team total over 37, NC State plus 3.5, Illinois-Minnesota under 39.5, and San Jose State minus 8.5. Danny's got Penn State-Michigan under 51.5, Alabama minus 7, Utah minus 3.5, Florida State-Clemson under 51.5, Iowa State plus 16.5, Syracuse minus 3.5, BYU plus 1.5. Bud's got UCF first half minus 13.5, UTSA first half minus 20, Clemson minus 3.5, the Kansas-Oklahoma over 62, North Carolina team total over 37, Miami-Virginia Tech under 47.5, Auburn-Ole Miss first half under 28.5, Oklahoma State-TCU first half over 34, Alabama team total over 36.5, and the Miami Bowling Green over 44.5. We do have lock unity on Clemson minus 3.5, and we've got lock fights in Texas, Iowa State, and NC State, Syracuse. Lock agreements on the Penn State-Michigan under, the Kansas-Oklahoma over, North Carolina team total over, and Illinois-Minnesota under, which means it's time to go to the big old cash register with our money line sprinkles. Right now, Danny is the leader, 10-10, up 9.72 units. Jeez. All right, Danny's sprinkles are Florida State plus 145, of course, against Clemson. Illinois plus 215 against Minnesota at home. Oklahoma State plus 150 on the road at TCU. And who's Middle playing? Middle Tennessee.
Western.
Yeah, Western Kentucky.
Wow. That's I wish you would have left us with a note on that. I don't.
I'll fill that note in.
Okay. Are you going to fill it in? Okay.
I'm going to bet it too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well then, yeah, Bud, why don't you go ahead and go next?
Is that it for Danny? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a couple here. We'll just start with middle. I am going to take middle plus 255. I'll just drop these in for Jordan. Jordan, these are the three for sure. And the other one I'm still going to think about on air here. So I just don't really trust Western Kentucky's defense all that much. This team has some wins over teams that I just think are very poor, and I'm not really sure that I trust them to go on the road and get wins. I mean, they lost to Indiana. They probably should have won. Indiana's a bad football team. They crushed FIU. I don't know. There's something about Western I don't trust. Middle is capable of scoring high variance game, potentially like them there. I'm going to take Memphis plus 180 at East Carolina. Some of these ECU injuries ain't sitting right with me, guys. Holden Naylor's talking about I was just got to work through it as far as his shoulder hurting him. Memphis might be getting some of these guys back. They're a really young team to start the season. They're getting a little older now. Now they got to get off the mat after that collapse they had against Houston, but I just think Houston's a better team than Memphis, right? So I think Memphis is capable of going on the road and getting this W. And then I'm going to take Rice, going to Florida, going to FAU, outright winner, Rice plus 157.
Dig it. I am your Tom. You want to go?
Sure. I will start with agreement. I'm also on Memphis plus 180. I think that might be a situation of wrong team favored there. And then my others are, open this up, LSU plus 120 at Florida, because I don't really believe in Florida all that much. So I think this game is pretty much
great game. Great game. One of the best games of the day.
I think it's a coin flip for the most part. So, if I can get the plus value on one of the teams, let's do it. Illinois plus 215, because I think that this defense of Illinois can keep this one close and keep themselves in the game, because I don't think Minnesota is going to be able to score much. So I don't think Art Sitkowski has to be great for Illinois to win this game. And I think plus 215 is way too big of a number. And finally, Kansas plus 265. Danny asked me earlier if I would take Kansas plus 7. I'll take Kansas minus 1. Okay. They're better and they're going to beat the Sooners. So Kansas plus 265.
Give me NC State. I don't know what my number is on that one, but give me NC State on the money line to get it done at Syracuse. And then
55.
Give me the USC Trojans. Something might not be right with Utah. And that's not a Utah thing that I'm blaming them for. It's just compared to my own expectations of what Utah was going to be this season. So there was, they operate in different ways, USC's offense against UCLA's offense. But man, UCLA got almost everything it wanted. And it was like a Dorian Thompson-Robinson pick 6 made that game even a little bit closer than it kind of felt. So, just a little hunchy. Give me USC on the money line as well. All right. That's it. That's a full load of I'll go ahead and get quick review. Tom's on Memphis, LSU, Illinois, and Kansas on the money line. I've got NC State and USC. Danny's got Florida State, Illinois, Oklahoma State, Middle Tennessee. Bud's on Middle Tennessee, Memphis, and Rice. Woo! That's how you get it done. All right. We will be back live around 11:30-ish Eastern time, maybe a little bit closer to midnight, depending on what's happening out there in Salt Lake City. And we will be here at youtube.com/cover3 with our full instant reaction to week 7. And you can follow him on Twitter at BudElliott3. You can follow him at Tom Fernelli. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See y'all.